All right, good morning. We are starting today with the Srimad Devi Bhagavata Purana, Skandha 1, Chapter 14. Sutta said, O Maharshis. So this is picking up where Vyasa, Veda Vyasa, is being seduced by the Apsara Ghritachi, and just thought through some reasons why it would be a bad idea to go through with that. But seeing the dark blue lady looking askance at him, Vyasadeva thought, indeed, what is to be done now? This Deva Kanyapsara Ghritachi is not fit for my household. Then, seeing Vyasadeva thus thoughtful, the Apsara thought that the Muni might curse him, and got terrified. Confounded by terror, she assumed the form of a shuka bird and fled away. Vyasa too became greatly surprised to see her take the form of a bird. The moment Vyasa saw the extraordinarily beautiful form of Ghritachi, the Kamadeva entered then into his body, and his mind was filled with the thought of sweet feminine form, and was gladdened, and all his body was thrilled with pleasure, so that the hairs of his body stood on their ends. The Muni Vyasadeva tried his best and exerted his power of patience or restraint to its utmost, but failed to control his restless mind, desiring to enjoy the woman. Though he was very energetic, and he tried repeatedly to control his heart, enchanted with the beautiful form of Ghritachi, yet he could not, as due to a state of things preordained by God, he could not control his mind. At this state, when he was rubbing the fire sticks to get the sacred fire, these are the two pieces of wood used in kindling the fire with friction. His semen fell upon the arani, upon the pieces of wood, but he did not take any notice of that, and he went on rubbing the fire sticks, when there arose from that arani the wonderfully beautiful form of Shukadeva, looking like a second Vyasa. This boy, born of the arani fuel, looked there, and so this is symbolically sacred also. Born of the arani, what is typically born of the arani fuel is Agni Deva, the Yajna fire. This boy looked there, brilliant like the blazing fire of the sacrificial place, whereon oblations of ghee are poured, just like the fire that is normally born from those sticks. Seeing that son, Vyasadeva was struck with great wonder and thought thus, what is this? How is it that my son is born without any woman? Thinking for a while, he came to the conclusion that this had certainly come to pass as the result of the boon granted to him by Shiva, that he would indeed have a son. No sooner had the fiery Shukadeva, no sooner the fiery Shukadeva was born of Arani, he looked brilliant like fire by his own tejas, his own fiery spirit. At that time, Vyasadeva began to look with one steady gaze on the beautiful form of his son, like a second Garhapatya fire, brilliant with the divine Agni. O hermits, the river Ganga came there from the Himalayas and washed all the inner nerves of the child Shukadeva by her holy waters, and showers of flowers were poured on his head. Vyasadeva next performed all the natal ceremonies of the high-souled child. The celestial drums were sounded, and the celestial apsaras began to dance, and the lords of the Gandharvas, Vishvavasu, Narada, Tumburu, and others began to sing with great joy for the sight of the sun. So Narada is a lord of the Gandharvas, though he is not a Gandharva himself. He is one of their greatest teachers and rulers. All the devas and vidyadharas began to chant hymns with gladdened hearts at the sight of the divine form, the son of Vyasa, born of Arani. O twice-born ones, then were dropped down from the sky the divine Danda rod, Kamandalu, and the antelope skin, gifted by the devas for Shukadeva as birth presents. No sooner the extraordinarily brilliant Shukadeva was born than he grew up, and Vyasadeva who is master of endless learning and how to impart it to others, performed his son's Upanayana ceremony. No sooner the child was born than all of the Vedas, with their secrets and epitomes, began to flash in the mind of Shukadeva, as it rained in Vyasadeva. O Munis, Bhagavan Vyasadeva gave the name of the child as Shuka, as during the moment of his birth, he saw the form of Gratachi in the form of the Shuka bird. Shuka then accepted Brahaspati as his guru and began devotedly, with his whole head and heart, to perform duly the Brahmacharya vow, the life of celibate studentship. The Muni Shuka remained in the house of his guru and studied the 4 Vedas with their secrets and epitomes, and all the other Dharma Shastras, and gave dakshina to the guru duly according to the proper rules, and then returned home to his father, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa. Seeing his son Shuka, Vyasadeva got up and received him with great love and honor, and embraced him and took the smell of his head. The holy Vyasa asked about his welfare and about his studies, and requested him to stay in that auspicious ashrama with him. Vyasa then thought of Shuka's marriage, and he became anxious and began to inquire where a beautiful girl of a Muni can be found. And he spoke to his son, O highly intelligent one, you have now studied all the Vedas and Dharma Shastras. Therefore, O sinless one, you had better marry now. O son, take a beautiful wife, and leading a householder's life, worship the Devas and Pitris, and free me from debt. There is no other way of issueless persons. He can never go to heaven. So, O highly fortunate son of mine, now enter into the life of a householder and make me happy. O highly intelligent one, I have big expectations from you. Now try to fulfill them. O greatly wise Shuka, after a very severe asceticism, I have got you, who are verily a Deva, born without any womb. I am your father. Therefore save me. When Vyasa spoke thus to Shuka, making him sit close by, the highly dispassionate Shuka at once made out that his father was terribly attached to the world, and replied, O knower of Dharma, you have, by the power of your great intelligence, divided the Veda into 4 parts. Why are you therefore advising me so now? I am your disciple, so give me true advice. Certainly I will obey your order. At this Vyasadeva said, O son, I have got you after I had performed very severe tapasya for 100 years, and worshipped Bhagavan Shankara, and the sole object of having you. O highly wise one, I will ask some king, and will give you sufficient wealth for your family expenses, so that you, having attained this much desired youth, enjoy the householder's life. Hearing these words of his father, Shukadeva said, O father, kindly say this to me. What pleasure is there in this earth that is not mixed with pain? The happiness that is mixed with pain is not called happiness by the wise. O highly fortunate one, when I will marry, I will become certainly submissive to that woman. See then how happiness can be possible to one who is dependent, especially to one dependent on one's wife. Rather, freedom can be obtained one day when one is tied to an iron or wooden pillar, but never freedom will come to that man who is tied by his wife and children. As the body of man is full of urine and feces, so too is the body of the woman. The more so, when I am born of no womb, how can I find happiness there? Not only in this birth, but in my previous birth too, I had no desire to be born of any womb. How can I desire now to enjoy the pleasure of urines and feces in the face of the bliss of the self that has got no other bliss equal to it? The high-souled persons that find pleasure in themselves never go after the sensual pleasures of the objects of enjoyments. When I studied first the Vedas in detail, it struck me that the Vedas dealt with the Shastra of Karma Marga, the way of action, and it is all full of hinsa, injury to others. Then I took Brahaspati as my guru to show me the way to true wisdom, but soon I found that he too was attacked with the dreadful disease of avidya and plunged in the terrible ocean of the world, full of maya. So it became quite clear to my mind, how could he save me? If the physician be diseased himself, how can he effect cures to other diseases? When I am desirous of liberation, how can I get it from a guru who is himself deeply attached to the world? How can such a one treat my case to free me from the disease of attachment to this world? It would be merely a farce. I bowed down to the guru, and now I am come to you to save me, frightened by this terrible serpent of samsara. Day and night the jivas travel in this awful wheel of samsara, this constellation of the zodiac. They are moving like the sun and never get any rest. O Father, If we discuss about the truth of Atman, we will at once find that there is no trace of happiness, true happiness, in this samsara. As the worms enjoy pleasures in the midst of feces, so the ignorant persons find pleasures in this samsara. Those who have studied the Vedas and other Shastras and yet are attached to the world are certainly deluded and blind. They are like horses, pigs, and dogs. No one is more stupid and ignorant than those persons. Getting this extremely rare human birth and studying the Vedanta and other Shastras, if they be attached to this world, then who are the men that will attain freedom? What more wonder can you find in this world than the fact that persons attached to wives, sons, and houses are denominated as pundits? That man who is not bound by this samsara, composed of the three gunas of Maya, is pandit. That man is intelligent and he has understood the real import of the Shastras. What use can there be in studying the Shastras in vain that teach how to bind men more firmly in this samsara full of Maya? That Shastra ought to be studied which tells how a man would be liberated. The house is called Gurha because it catches hold of a man firmly. So what happiness can you expect from the house which is like a prison? Oh, Father, I am therefore afraid. Those pundits are certainly stupid, and they are certainly deceived by the Creator, who having the birth even of men become again imprisoned. Hearing these words of Shuka, Vyasa spoke as follows. O son, the house is never a prison, nor is it the cause of any bondage. The householder whose mind is unattached can get moksha in spite of his being a householder. Truthful, holy, earning wealth by just means, and performing according to rules the rites and ceremonies as stated in the Vedas, and doing sraddhas duly, a householder can certainly get moksha. See a man who is a brahmachari, who is an ascetic, who is a vanaprasti, or follows any other method or vow, all have got to worship the householder after midday. The religious householder, too, welcomes them all with sweet words and gives them food with great love and respect, and thus does them an amount of good. For this reason, the householder's stage is the most excellent of all, and I have not seen or heard of any other ashrama superior to it. For this reason, Vashishta and other acharyas resorted to householder's life in spite of their being endowed with great wisdom, O highly fortunate one. If one performs duly the rites and ceremonies of the Vedas, there is nothing that is impracticable to him, be it the birth in a good family, or the enjoyment of heaven's say, or be it moksha. Whatever he desires, it is fructified to success. Also, there is no such rule that one will have to remain in one and the same ashrama throughout his life. The pundits who know dharma say that pupils can go from one ashrama to another. Therefore, O child, accept Agni, the householder's fire, and try your best to do your duties unremittingly. O son, enter into a householder's life and appease the devas, pitris, and humans. Procreate sons and enjoy the pleasures of household life. When old age will come, quit the house and take up the vanaprastha ashram, and go to a forest and perform the excellent vows, and then take up the dharma of sannyasa and renounce everything. O fortunate one, he who does not take a wife is certainly maddened by these indomitable 5 organs of action, 5 organs of the senses and mind. Therefore, the makers of the Shastra say that to save oneself from the pernicious influences of these vicious senses, one is to take a wife during his time of youth, and then is to be engaged in performing tapasya during his old age. O fortunate one, in days of yore, the fiery Raja Rishi Vishvamitra practiced very severe tapasya without any food for 3,000 years, and thought he was very strong and shining like fire. He was fascinated by the charm of the celestial Apsara Menaka, and an auspicious daughter was born from the womb of Menaka by Vishvamitra. My father, Parashara, though a great ascetic, was struck with Kamadeva's arrows at the sight of the daughter of a fisherman named Kali, and accepted her in the boat. What more than this, that Brahma, seeing his own daughter Sandhya, was struck by passion and ran after her, when Bhagavan Rudradeva made him unconscious by his hunkar sound and made Brahma desist from the attempt. So, O fortunate one, take my word, pregnant of good issues, and marry a lady born of a good family, and follow the path presented in the Vedas. Thus ends the 14th chapter of the first skandha on the birth of Shukadeva and the duties of householders, and the Mahapurana Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. Chapter 15. Hearing these words of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva said, "O father, I do not like at all to take a householder's life, as I see clearly that it fastens men, as a cord fastens animals, and is a source of incessant pain. O father, where can you expect happiness from a householder who is always loaded with anxiety, how and whence to get wealth? Those who have greed for wealth oppress their poor relatives even and extort money, even one who is the lord of the three worlds, who is their Indra. He also is not so happy as a beggar that has no desires. See then who else can be happy in this world. Whenever an ascetic is seen to practice severe asceticism, Indra, the lord of the Devas, becomes anxious and sorry and raises various obstacles in his way. See also that Brahma is not happy with his big samsara. Bhagavan Vishnu, though he has got his beautiful Kamala, the presiding deity of all wealth and prosperity, is always suffering since he is incessantly engaged in fighting with the Asuras. And though he is the husband of Lakshmi and full of prosperity, he practices, almost every now and then, terrible asceticism with great care and earnestness. So who else is there who is possessed of constant happiness? I know also Bhagavan Shankara too suffers incessant troubles and has to fight against the Daityas. So then, O father, how can a poor householder be happy when the rich householder cannot sleep happily with his constant care for wealth? O highly fortunate one, knowing full well this truth of the world, why are you plunging me, your son, in this terrible samsara full of pains and agonies? O father, what shall I say to you about the miseries of the world? There is pain in birth, pain in old age, pain in death, pain in the life in the womb, full of urines and feces, but the pain arising from desire and greed is more terrible than all the pains mentioned above, and then the pains experienced while asking for them are greater than the pangs of death. Alas, there is no other way for the Brahmins to earn their livelihood than to accept gifts from others. Therefore, the Brahmins have to suffer daily death-like pangs and having to wait in expectation from others. Can there be anything more regrettable than this? The Brahmanas, studying all the Vedas and Dharmashastras and acquiring wisdom, have got at last to go to the rich and praise them in expectation of some money. O father, if one does not become a householder, then what care is there to feed one's own belly? If there be contentment in the mind, anyhow the belly can be filled with leaves, roots, and fruits. But if there be wife, sons, and grandsons, and many dependent relatives, then to feed them all, much trouble and anxiety are experienced. So how can you expect, O father, perfect happiness in the world? So teach me, O father, the Shastras on yoga and eternal truth that will give perfect happiness. No advice in karma kanda will bring me pleasure. Now advise me how the karmas can be exhausted, how the root of the three sorts of karmas, sanchita, prarabdha, and vartamana, giving torments of birth, death, etc., the avidya, the great ignorance, can be destroyed. The fools do not understand how the women suck the blood out of persons like leeches, for they get themselves deluded by their gestures and postures. The lady of the house, whom the people call Kanta, the beautiful one, steal away the virile semen, the strength and energy, and the way of giving them happiness as sexual intercourse, and their minds and wealth and everything by their crooked love conversations. So see what greater thief can there be than a woman? In my opinion, those that are ignorant are certainly deluded by the Creator. They accept a wife to destroy their own pleasure and happiness. They can never understand that the woman can never be the source of pleasure. They are the source of all miseries. Hearing these words of Shuka, Vyasa became merged in the deep sea of cares and anxieties, thinking what to do then. Incessant tears of pain flowed from his eyes. His whole body began to shiver, and his mind became much worried. Seeing this distressed and sorrowful state of his father, Shukadeva, with eyes full of wonder, said, "Oh, what a power has Maya got! Oh, he whose words are accepted by all with great love and care is equivalent to the Vedas, who is the author of the Vedanta Darshana, and before whom nothing is veiled in ignorance. Oh, that greatest Pandit, the knower of all the tattvas, is now deluded by Maya? Oh, what is that Maya who has been able to delude Vyasadeva, the son of Satyavati, so skilled in the knowledge of Brahma Vidya? I also do not know how, with what great care, one is to practice sadhana towards her. Alas, he who has composed 18 Mahapuranas and the great Mahabharata, who has divided the Vedas in 4 parts, the same Veda Vyasa has today been deluded by the power of Maya. What to speak of other persons? Oh, Maya has deluded Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, and others in the whole universe. Then who is there in the 3 worlds that is not fascinated by her influence? I therefore take refuge unto the internal governess, the Devi Mahamaya. Oh, what wonderful power she wields! By her own Mayak power, she has kept God even under her control, who is omniscient and the controller of all. The pundits who know the Puranas say that Vyasadeva is born of the part of Vishnu, but see the wonder that he is today plunged in the sea of delusion like a merchant whose ship has been wrecked. Alas, how great is the wonderful power of Maya! The all-knowing Vyasa is today under the control of Maya and is weeping like an ordinary man. So I have come to the firm conclusion that the wise pundits are incapable to surpass the strength of Maya. What a great error arises through the power of Maya. See indeed, who is he and who am I? For what have we come here? There is no certainty, nothing whatsoever about that. And see also how he has got the nice idea of father on his body and the idea of his son in my body that are composed of 5 elements. This is now quite evident to me, that when the Brahmin Maharshi Krishna Dvaipayana is weeping under the influence of Maya, she is the strongest of all. Even those who are skilled in the great Maya fall under her prey. Then Shukadeva bowed down mentally to the Devi Mahamaya, who is the creatrix of Brahma and the other Devas, and who is the controller of them all, and then began to speak the following auspicious words, pregnant with reason, to his father Vyasadeva, greatly distressed and plunged in the sea of sorrows. O father, you are exceedingly fortunate, for you are the son of the high-souled Parashara, and you yourself are the instructor of real truth, the Tattva Jnana, to all persons. So, O Lord, why are you giving vent to sorrows like an ordinary bewildered man? O Mahabhaga, why are you plunging yourself in this great error, though you are a high-souled personage? See, it is quite true that now I am born as your son, but this I don't know. What relation existed between you and me in my previous birth? So, O highly intelligent one, open your eyes of wisdom and be patient. Do not throw yourself in vain in the sea of sorrows. All this universe is like a net of delusion. Knowing this, abandon all your grief. Why are you feeling yourself so much weak and distressed for your attachment towards your son? Hunger is satisfied by eating something, and thirst is satisfied by the drinking of water. Hunger is not satisfied by seeing the sun. So the hearing is satisfied by hearing sweet music, and when thirst arises to enjoy women, that is satisfied only by sexual intercourse. But what satisfaction can a son give? So what shall I do to you by remaining as your son? The son, in fact, is not the cause of any satisfaction to oneself. For this reason, in ancient days, the poor Brahmin Ajigarta gave his son to the king Harishchandra for necessary equivalent price in money, who wanted a man for his sacrifice where human beings are to be sacrificed as victims, the Purusha Medha. In fact, those things that are urgently required as necessities give happiness, and all these articles can be obtained by wealth. So if you want to enjoy happiness, then earn money. Of what use shall I be to you as your son? O Muni, you can see subtle things, and you are greatly intelligent, so I pray to you to look upon me as your son and open my eyes of wisdom that I can be free forever from this womb of birth. O sinless one, to get a human birth in this land of karma is very difficult. Again, to get a Brahmin birth is extremely rare. So when I have got this so very rare birth, why shall I spend my time in vain? O father, though I have served many spiritual teachers, fraught with wisdom for many years, yet the firm idea I am bound up in this net of samsara, the notion covered with darkness of ignorance, caused by desires, this net of samsara does not leave me. When the son Shukadeva of extraordinary power and intelligence spoke thus, Vyasa saw that his son was strongly inclined to take to the 4th ashram, that of sannyasa, and spoke thus. O son, if your mind has become so, then read Bhagavata Purana composed by me, highly auspicious, voluminous. It is the 2nd Veda. In this you have the chapters on Sarga and Upasarga, etc., the 5 characteristics as in other Puranas, and it is subdivided into 12 skandhas. Hearing of this Bhagavata brings up to the mind that Brahman alone is real, and all the universe is unreal, and knowledge both intuitive and indirect springs up. For this very reason, the Bhagavata treatise is considered as the ornament of the Puranas. Therefore, O highly intelligent one, you better study this Purana. O child, in days of yore, at the end of a kalpa, Bhagavan Hari was lying as a small child on a floating leaf of a banyan tree, and was thinking thus. Who is the intelligent one that has created me, a small child? What is his object? Of what stuff am I made of? And how am I created? Whence can I know all this? At this moment, the Devi Bhagavati, who is all Chaitanya, all consciousness, seeing the high-souled Bhagavan Hari musing thus, spoke out in the form of a celestial voice in the following half stanza. All this that is seen is I myself. There is existent nothing other that is eternal. Bhagavan Vishnu then began to think deeply about the above celestial voice. Who has uttered this word, pregnant of truth, to me? How shall I come to know the speaker, whether that is female or male, or of Tritya Prakriti, of a third gender? Pondering over this for a long time, when he could not come to a definite conclusion, he began to make japa, to perform japa of that word of Bhagavati with a whole heart. So doing japa on the Sanskrit half shloka, all this that is seen is I myself. There is existent nothing other that is eternal. He was doing japa of that sentence. When Hari, lying on a banyan tree leaf, became very anxious to know what the above words implied, then the all-auspicious Devi Bhagavati, with a beautiful face, calm and quiet appearance, appeared before Bhagavan Vishnu of unrivaled splendor in the form of Mahalakshmi, who is all of Sattva Guna, surrounded by her vibhutis, her manifestations of her attendants. So surrounded by attendants, but they are her own manifestations. Her smiling companions of the same apparent age as her, decked with ornaments and wearing divine clothings, and holding each in their 4 divine hands a conch shell, a disc, a club, and a lotus. The lotus-eyed Vishnu was very much surprised to see that beautiful Devi standing without anything to rest on that water. He saw that on the 4 sides of the Devi were staying her attendants, the Devis Rati, Bhuti, Buddhi, Mati, Kirti, Smriti, Dhriti, Shraddha, Medha, Svadha, Svaha, Kshuddha, Nidra, Daya, Gati, Tushti, Pushti, Kshama, Lajja, Drimbha, Tandra, and other personified Shaktis, each possessing a clear, distinct form and endowed with a clear, distinct feeling. In the hands of them all were divine weapons, on their necks, necklaces and garlands of mandara flowers, and all the limbs of their bodies were decorated with divine ornaments. Seeing in that one mass of ocean the Devi Lakshmi and her Shaktis, Bhagavan Janardana, the soul of all, became greatly astonished and thought within himself, what is this? Is this Maya that I am witnessing? Whence have appeared these women? And whence have I come here, lying on this banyan leaf? How has the banyan tree come to existence in this one mass of ocean? And who is it that has placed me here in the form of a child? Is this my mother? Or is this some Maya that can create impossible things? Why has she made herself manifest before me now? Or is there some hidden motive that she has appeared thus? What ought I to do now? Or shall I go to some other place? Or shall I continue remaining here in this form of the child, silent and with vigilance? Thus ends the 15th chapter of the first skandha on the dispassion of Shuka and the instructions of Bhagavati to Hari and the Mahapurana Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. Chapter 16. Vyasa spoke. Then the Devi Mahalakshmi, seeing the Deva Janardana lying on a banyan leaf and surprised, spoke to him smiling, O Vishnu, why are you becoming so much astonished? Before this, since times immemorial without any beginning, there had been many pralayas and many srishtis. And at the beginning of every creation, so pralaya is the dissolution, srishti is the creation. So there have been infinite cycles. And at the beginning of every creation, you came first into existence, and every time I was united with you, but now you have forgotten me under the spell of that Mahashakti. That highest Mahashakti is transcendent of all the gunas, but you and I are with gunas. Know me as the Shakti, all of Sattva Guna, who is widely known as Mahalakshmi. After this, the Prajapati Brahma, full of Rajoguna, the creator of all the lokas, will come into existence from your navel lotus and will create the 3 worlds. Then he will perform severe tapasya and acquire the excellent power to create, and will create the 3 worlds by his Rajoguna. That highly intelligent Prajapati will create first the 5 Mahabhutas, the 5 great elements, all endowed with gunas, and then create mind with sensory organs and the presiding deities of the senses, and thus with all the ingredients fit for creation, will create all the worlds. Therefore, he is denominated by all as the creator of the Brahmanda. O highly fortunate one, you will be the preserver of this Brahmanda. When the Prajapati Brahma will be angry at the beginning of the creation on his 4 mind-born sons, Rudra Deva will appear. He will appear then from the center of his eyebrows. On being born, this Rudra Deva will practice very severe tapasya and will get the Sanghara Shakti, who is all of Tamoguna, and at the end of the Kalpa, he will destroy all this universe of 5 elements. O highly intelligent one, so I have come to you for this work of creation, etc. So take me to you as your Vaishnavi Shakti full of Sattva Guna. O Madhusudana, I will take refuge at your breast and will remain always with you. Hearing all this, Bhagavan Vishnu spoke. O beautiful Devi, the half stanza was ere long heard by me in clear words. By whom was that spoken? Kindly speak to me on this great auspicious secret first, for a great doubt has come and possessed my mind. What more shall I say than this, that as a poor man always thinks of wealth, so I am thinking of that again and again. Hearing these words of Vishnu, the Devi Mahalakshmi smilingly said with great affection, O strong and energetic one, I am now speaking in detail on this. Listen. O 4-armed one, that is because I have come to you with form and endowed with gunas that you have come to know me, but you have not known that Adya Shakti, the prime force, transcending all the gunas, though she is the substratum of all the gunas. O highly fortunate one, that Devi Bhagavati, transcendent of all the gunas, uttered that all auspicious, highly sanctifying semi-stanza, the essence of all the Vedas. O destroyer of enemies, I think that there is the highest grace of that highest Shakti on you, that she spoke the greatest secret to you for your benefit. O one performing good vows, know those words uttered by Mahavidya as the essence of all the Shastra. So firmly retain them within your heart, never forget them. There is no other thing save that, worth being known in earnest. Because you are most beloved of the Devi, she has spoken this to you. Hearing these words of the Devi Mahalakshmi, the 4-armed Bhagavan took that semi-stanza as a mantra to be repeated in right earnest within his mind and cherished that forever within his heart. After some time, Brahma, born of the lotus of the navel of Vishnu, became afraid of the 2 Daityas, Madhu and Kaitava, took refuge of Bhagavan Vishnu. Vishnu killed the 2 demons and began to do distinctly the japam of the semi-stanza. Brahma, born of the lotus, then asked Vishnu with a gladdened heart, O Lord of the Devas, what japam are you doing? Lotus-eyed, is there any other body more powerful than you? O Lord of the universe, whom do you think of and thus feel yourself so happy? Hearing Brahma, Bhagavan Hari said, O highly fortunate one, think out yourself once of the primordial force, the auspicious Bhagavati Adya Shakti, who is reigning everywhere as the cause and effect, and you will be able to understand everything. My presiding deity is that immeasurable, eternal Mahashakti Brahmamayi, on whose Shakti, as a receptacle with form on this ocean, rests the whole universe. I am thinking of that by which is created often and often again this entire universe, moving and non-moving. When the Devi Bhagavati, the giver of boons, becomes graciously pleased, the human beings become freed of this bondage of samsara. And again, that highest eternal wisdom, the cause of mukti, becomes the source of bondage to this world of those who are deluded by her. She is the Ishvari of the Ishvaras of this universe. O Brahma, you, I, and all other things of the entire universe are born of the Chit Shakti, the power of consciousness of her and her alone. There is no manner of doubt in this. The semi-stanza by which she has sown within me the seed of Bhagavata will get expanded by the beginning of the Dwapara Yuga. While Bhagavan Brahma was resting on the navel lotus of Vishnu, he got the seed of Bhagavata. Then he gave it to his own son Narada, the best of the Munis. Narada gave it to me, and I have expanded that into 12 skandhas. Therefore, this is now, of course, Vyasa, who has resumed speaking, no longer delivering the dialogue of Vishnu. Therefore, O Mahabhaga, You now study this Bhagavata Purana, equal to the Vedas and endowed with 5 characteristics. So he is referring not to the Bhagavata Purana that we formerly read all of, but this one, the Devi Bhagavata Purana. In this, the wonderful, glorious deeds and life of the Devi Bhagavati, the hidden meanings of the Vedas, and the wisdom, the truth are all described. Hence, this is the best of all the Puranas and sanctifying like the Dharma Shastra. It is the substratum of Brahma Vidya. Therefore, if men study this, they will easily cross this sea of world. And those that are stupid and deluded get pleasure in hearing the death of Vratrasura and many other narrations that are interspersed in this book to keep it entertaining. Therefore, O Mahabhaga, hear this sanctifying Bhagavata Puranam and retain it firmly within your heart. O best of persons, you are the foremost of those that are intelligent, so you are worthy to read this Purana. 18,000 shlokas are in that Purana, and you better get them by heart. For if anybody reads or hears this Purana, fit to be praised in every way, all auspicious, capable to increase posterity by the addition of sons and grandsons, giving long life, happiness, and peace, he sees the sun of wisdom resting in his breast and dispelling all darkness of ignorance. Thus speaking to his son Shukadeva, Krishna Dvaipayan, my guru, taught us the Purana. This is now, of course, Sutta speaking, and thought it was voluminous. I got the whole of it by heart. Shuka studied the Purana and stayed in Vyasa's ashrama, but he was naturally dispassionate, like Sanat Kumara and the other mind-born sons of Brahma. Therefore, he could not get peace in studying the contents of the Purana which deal with the Karma Kanda fit for the householders. He remained in a solitary place, his heart being troubled very much. He appeared as if with his heart void. He did not mind much for his food, and he did not fast also. Once Vyasadeva, seeing his son Shukadeva so thoughtful, said, "O son, why do you think constantly? And why are you troubling yourself so much? Like an impoverished man entangled in debt, you are always disturbed by your thoughts. O child, when I, your father, am living, what for do you care? Leave aside your inmost sorrows and be happy. Cast off all other thoughts and think of the wisdom contained in the Shastras and try your best to acquire Vijnana, the essence of wisdom. O Suvrata, if you do not get peace by my words, then go at my word to Mithila, the city of the King Janaka. O Mahabhaga, that King Janaka, who is liberated while living, whose soul is dharmic and who is the ocean of truth, will cut asunder the net of your delusion. O son, go to that king and question him on Varnashrama Dharma and remove your doubts. That Rajarishi Janaka, the greatest yogi, the knower of Brahman, and a Jivan Mukta, liberated while living, is of pure soul, truth-speaking, of a calm and quiet heart, and always fond of yoga." Hearing these words of Vyasadeva, the highly spirited Shukadeva of unrivaled energy replied, "O virtuous one, your word can never turn out false. But when I hear that the King Janaka is gladly governing his kingdom, still he is liberated while living, and disembodied while he has body, this your word appears to me quite contradictory, like light and darkness at one and the same place and time, and seems that these two epithets simply indicate vanity and nothing else. O father, this is my greatest doubt. How can the royal sage Janaka govern his kingdom, being disembodied? It appears that your word about Janaka is quite false as the son of a barren woman, a contradiction in terms. O father, I have now got a desire to see the disembodied King Janaka, for my mind is plunged in great doubt. How can he remain in samsara unattached, like a lotus leaf in water? O greatest orator, is the liberation of Janaka according to Buddhistic doctrines, or like the opinions of the materialistic Charvakas? O highly intelligent one, how can the Rajarishi Janaka, in spite of his being a householder, quit the usages of his senses? I cannot comprehend this. How can the things enjoyed by him appear to him as if unenjoyed? And how can his doings be non-doings? How can the ideas of mother, wife, son, sister, prostitutes, and various persons having different relations arising within him vanish again altogether? And if that be not the case, how can his Jivan Muktahood be possible? If his taste be present of pungent, sour, astringent, bitter, and sweet things, then it is clear that he is enjoying all the most excellent things. O father, this is my greatest wonder and doubt, that if he has got the sense of heat and cold, pleasure and pain, how can he be a Jivan Mukta? That king is thoroughly expert in reigning his kingdom. How then the ideas of enemy, friend, taste, and distaste remaining absent in him, how can he govern his state? How can he look with the same eyes at a thief and an ascetic? And if he makes any distinction, how then is his liberation effected? I have never seen such a man that is liberated while living and at the same time an expert king governing his subjects. For these reasons, great doubt has arisen in me. I cannot understand how the king Janaka can be liberated while he is remaining in his house. Whatever it be, I desire now greatly to see him after his Jivan Muktahood. So I desire to go to Mithila to solve my doubts. Thus ends the 16th chapter of the first skandha on Shuka's desiring to go to Mithila to see Janaka in the Mahapurana Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses. Sutta said, thus speaking to his father about his intention to go to Mithila, the high-souled Shukadeva fell prostrate at his father's feet, and with folded palms said, O highly fortunate one, your word must be obeyed by me. Now I desire to see, as you say, the kingdom of Janaka. Kindly give me permission. O father, again the doubt is coming within me how the king Janaka is governing his kingdom without sentencing anybody. And if there be no punishment within his kingdom, no one will remain in the path of virtue. It is for the sake of preserving dharma that Manu and the other sages have always prescribed for punishment. How then dharma can be preserved without inflicting punishment? O Mahabhaga, what you have spoken to me appears to me like the sentence, my mother is barren. So, O destroyer of foes, permit and I will start for Mithila. Seeing the greatly wise Shuka, void of any desires, earnestly anxious to go to Mithila, Vyasa gave him a cordial embrace and said, O highly intelligent son Shuka, peace be on you, have a long life. O child, speak truly before me and go. O son, say that after going to Mithila, you will come back again to this ashrama, never that you will go anywhere else. O son, seeing the lotus face of yours, I am passing my days happily. If I do not see you, I will suffer extreme pain. What more than this, that you are my life and soul. I am saying, therefore, that after seeing Janaka and clearing your doubts again, come here again and remain at peace and study on the Vedas. Vyasa, having spoken thus, Shuka bowed down and circumambulated his most worshipful father and went out. He began to walk very fast, like an arrow leaving the bow when it has like an arrow leaving the bow. On his journey, he saw various countries, various classes of persons earning money, various gardens and forests, various trees. In some places, he saw fields with green grains and grains standing on them. At others, he saw ascetics practicing asceticism and initiated yajñits performing yajñas. In some places, he saw yogis practicing yoga, the high-souled vanaprasthis in their third stage of life residing in the forest. And at other places, he saw devotees of Shiva, Shakti, Ganesha, Surya, and Vishnu, and many others. Thus he went on his journey in great wonder towards his destination. In his passage, he crossed Meru in 2 years. So this is a long journey. He's not actually even starting in Bharatavarsha. He's starting Vyasa at this time, had his ashram, as we were told, in the foothills of Mount Meru, in the northern side of Ilavratavarša. So this is a very lengthy journey across a great swath of Jambudvipa. So it took him 2 years to cross over the foothills of Meru, and 1 year to cross the Himalaya mountains. And then he reached the city of Mithila, on the other side of the Himalayas, having come down to the south side into Bharatavarsha. Going towards the city, he found the place full of wealth, corn, grains, etc., and all prosperities, and the people were all very happy, and they observed the rules of conduct as in the Shastras. When he was about to enter into the city, the guard in front of the gate stopped him, asking, "Who are you, sir? What for are you come here?" When the guard asked him thus, he replied nothing and went away to a distance, and with great wonder could not help laughing in his mind, and remained motionless like a statue. At this the guard said, "O Brahman, why have you remained silent? Kindly say what you have come here for. I know this well, that nobody goes anywhere without having something to do. The king has forbidden strangers whose parentage and character are unknown. Therefore, O Brahman, everyone has to take the king's permission before he goes into the city. It seems that you are a very energetic Brahman, and that you know the Vedas. So, O giver of honor, speak out to me your object in view, and go into the city as you like." Hearing these words of the guard, Shukadeva began to say, I have come to see the city of Videha Janaka, but now I see that persons like me find great difficulty to enter here. So, O gatekeeper, I have got the answer from you. I was a great fool that I was so much deluded that to see the king I crossed many countries and overtopped the 2 mountain ranges and have come here. O Mahabhaga, what blame can I put on others? It is my father that has deluded me, or my karma done in my previous birth is now making me wander about. Alas, in this world greed for money is the sole cause to make a man knock about. But I have not got that even. My erroneous idea has brought me so far. I now realize that a man having no desires gets constant happiness if he be not plunged in the net of delusion, else he cannot have any such. O Mahabhaga, though I have no desire of anything, yet I am plunged in the sea of moha. Moha is delusion. Alas, where is Meru and where is Mithila? A great distance intervenes. I have walked so great a distance on foot. Alas, this is the result of my so long a journey. Therefore, I am thoroughly convinced that the Creator has deceived me. One must have to suffer for his prarabdha karma, be it auspicious or inauspicious. One must make one's effort, being always under the control of this law of karma. Though there be no apparent desire or cause, yet this prarabdha karma always puts a man into different actions. This place is not even a tirtha, nor there are the Vedas personified here, that I have taken so much pains and troubles to come here. Only there is one thing here, and that is the King Janaka, but there is no chance to see him even, for I have not been able to enter even within his kingdom. Thus saying, Shuka remained silent and began to stay as one who has taken the vow to remain silent. The guard then took him to be a very wise Brahmin and spoke in sweet words. O Brahmin, go to the place as you like where you have got your work. O Brahmin, I stopped you, so please excuse me for any offense incurred by me. Free persons like you have mercy alone as their greatest strength. Hearing this, Shukadeva said, What is your fault? You are dependent on another. The servant ought to obey the words of his master and serve him by all means. And there is no fault of the king, too, in your not allowing me to enter, for the wise persons ought to ascertain by all means whether the newcomers are enemies or thieves. Hence, when I am quite a stranger, suddenly come to this place, the fault is wholly mine. Every person knows that it is lowering oneself to go to another's house. The guard then said, O great Brahman, what is happiness and what is pain? What ought to be done? What ought to be done to by your well-wisher? Who is your enemy and who is your benefactor? Now advise me on all these points. Hearing this, Shukadeva said, Everywhere men are divided as far as their internal natures are concerned into 2 classes. They are attached or they are unattached. And the minds of these 2 classes are again of 2 kinds. The attached man is stupid or cunning, and the unattached man is subdivided into 3 classes, knowing, unknowing, and middling. The cunning man is divided again into 2 classes, whether his cunningness is according to the dictates of the Shastras or arising from his own intellect. Again, the intellect is subdivided into whether it is yukta, one-pointed, or ayukta, diverted, that it goes between various things. The guard spoke, O learned man, I do not understand what you say, so please explain to me what these all mean. Shukadeva said, Those who are attached to this world are said to be attached persons. These attached persons feel frequently various pleasures and pains. When they get wives, sons, wealth, honor, they rise in station, etc., they get pleasures. And if they do not get any of these, they feel at every moment intense pain. Now, the attached person will seek to take such means as will secure them the pleasures of this world. So whoever nets against those means are denominated as breakers of their happiness, and so they are enemies. And whoever aids in their acquiring pleasures are denominated as their friends. Of these, the attached but at the same time cunning man does not get confounded and bewildered by them, whereas the stupid attached man gets always bewildered everywhere. The man that is dispassionate and engaged in determining the self dwells in a solitary place, meditates on the self, finds pleasure in studying the Vedanta Shastras, and feels pain in all the topics on worldly affairs. The wise man that wants his real welfare and is averse to the worldly enjoyments finds that he has many enemies. They are lust, anger, palaces, etc. These are his so many enemies. Contentment is his only friend in the 3 lokas, and no one is his real self. Hearing these words of Shukadeva, the watchman considered Shukadeva a very wise man, and soon led him into the city to a very beautiful compartment, or to a very beautiful compartment of the city, like within the outer wall into a district of the city of Mithila. Shukadeva then began to see that the town was full of three sorts of men, good, middling, and bad, and the shops were filled with various articles of merchandise. The many things were being incessantly purchased and sold there. Within that town, filled with many men, money and all sorts of wealth and prosperities, almost everywhere were seen instances of attachment, hatred, lust, anger, greed, vanity, and delusion. At some parts there were seen persons quarreling with each other. Seeing thus the three sorts of persons, a highly energetic Shuka, blazing like a second sun, went to the royal palace, where the gateman stopped him. He stood there like a log of wood and began to meditate on moksha. He began to think of light and darkness as the same. The greatly ascetic Shuka became merged in dhyana and remained at one place motionless. In an instant, a royal minister came out and, saluting him with folded hands, took him into a second compartment. So past the next wall and inside the into the palace grounds. Here the minister showed him beautiful divine gardens, adorned nicely with rows of divine trees bearing fruits, and gave him a good reception and took him into a very beautiful palace. The minister next ordered the public women in royal service, expert in music and playing with instruments, and skilled in Kama Shastra, to attend on Shukadeva, and went out of the palace. Shuka, the son of Vyasa, remained there. Those royal prostitutes then prepared various dishes suited to the time and place, and sought the satisfaction of Shuka, and then worshipped him duly with greatest devotion. Those ladies then, residing within the four walls of the palace, became enamored to see the beauty of Shukadeva, and showed him the gardens that existed in the inner compound. Shuka was young and beautiful. Over this he was extremely lovely, of nice limbs. His speech was soft and gentle, so he looked like a second Kamadeva. All the ladies, struck with Kama's arrows, lost their consciousness. Then recovering, they considered Shukadeva to be the great controller of passions and began to serve him with great care. The pure-minded Shuka, born of Arani, looked on them like his mother. Shuka, finding pleasure in the self and the controller of anger, was not pleased or displeased with anything. So though he saw that the ladies were disturbed with amorous feelings for him, he remained quite undisturbed, calm and quiet. The ladies then prepared a very nice bed, whereon Shukadeva would sleep. It was spread over with a nice clean bedsheet. Many nice pillows were placed there. He then washed his feet, and with vigilance put on his finger the ring prepared of kusha grass, and completing his evening sandhya, became merged in dhyana. Meditating on the Supreme Brahman for 1 prahara, or about 3 hours, he then slept for 6 hours, and getting up, again became merged in Brahma Dhyana for the last 3 hours of the night. Then at the Brahma Muhurta, 1 hour before sunrise, he took his bath, and completing his morning duties, became immersed in Samadhi and sat at ease. Thus ends the 17th chapter of the first skandha on Shuka's displaying his self-control amidst the women of the palace of Mithila and the Mahapurana Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. And I think that might be a good stopping point. We're getting close to 10, and the next chapter begins the dialogue between Shuka and Raja Janaka, which goes on for many chapters. So I think it's probably best to start next time with that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Devila.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming. Jai Ma.